What is a particular problem that you see as far as information flow is happening currently in regards to social media? Do you see, is there something that you're concerned about there?
Yes. Although I mean, it's a difficult issue just on the grounds that social media and what is involved in them are changing so quickly that
Mm,
unless one is really up with current developments, what one says might just be rather old-fashioned. But there
mm,
is an interesting book by an American academic lawyer called Cass Sunstein,
mhm,
called #Republic, and in which he argued, but illustrating this in terms of America, the history of American constitutional ideas. He
mm,
stressed the way in which, very much along the lines similar to those which I've referred to in connection with Popper, that a key role in a certain sense was supposed to be played by respectful discussions amongst people who had different perspectives.
mm,
And what he drew attention to, and I'm not sure if to what extent this is overcome now, is that you've got a situation in which social media are typically operating in ways that inadvertently allow people to create a kind of communities of yes people. I mean, in
mm,
the sense
mhm,
that they are typically interested in my preferences, on keeping me on a page where I can see their adverts, where they
right,
can flog to uh, people um, who they want to sell adverts to, that there
mm,
is a particular demographic, but also someone who likes cats,
mm,
and so on and so on and so on, but where it may be much more specific. But that in order to keep my attention, first of all, things work on the basis very often of whether I like or dislike things.
right,
And if I select things, then they will push other things my way. But
mm,
what they tend to push my way is things which will grab my attention, which, being the creatures that we are, will often consist of stuff that reinforces our prejudices or which confirms us in the view that people who take other views are really pretty despicable. And
right,
the trouble about this is that you've got something which then takes on almost the antithesis of the character of what Popper was urging on us if we are trying to discover the truth. Because
mhm,
if you just get stuff which reinforces your prejudices, if there were problems about your views, if you hadn't appreciated where other people are coming from, if all you get is stuff that confirms your caricatures them, you won't learn anything very much. But it's also the case that this, in a way, is spreading in a striking manner to other media as well. I mean, I was reading not long back, but I've got I've had some experiences that have broadly confirmed this, that you've got now in it, well, the thing that I was reading was a piece written by someone who had run the op-ed page in the New York Times for quite a while. And he said, look, we always had a policy of getting diverse viewpoints and perspectives. What
mm,
he reported on was the way in which the news section of the New York Times had
right,
tended now to get more and more into a position where it was really taking up in the news reporting a single liberal perspective. Now, I'm
right,
not saying in this that the liberal perspective may not be right, but the trouble is that if you get people who, I mean, there was an issue about the behavior of the Supreme Court. And the reporter essentially said, well, I went round and interviewed about this a number of distinguished uh, academic constitutional lawyers. And he says, in effect, well, all the leading ones were liberal, although I did interview one other chap who, while he's conservative, also agreed with me. And I thought, well, this isn't very helpful, because
Right.
there are not going to be many other places than something like the New York Times in which you can really get uh, in-depth reporting on important things in this sort of way. But
Mm-hmm.
if what you're getting is rather self-consciously selective in this manner, it's tricky. Now, you can obviously in the US, I mean, watch, if you can bear it, both Fox News and MSNBC. You can, if you take out subscriptions to journals and newspapers from different countries, you can, if you work at it, get different cuts on things. But how many people are actually going to do this? And so you've
Mm-hmm.
got at one level a kind of huge enabling of things. So that, I mean, standardly, I'm reading, I mean, it's only a limited list, the Times of London, New York Times, The Economist, the Guardian in London, which has
Like a leftist, not
US
leftist, but yeah, yeah.
perspective, and from this one can sort of get a feel of, and then, but I mean, this costs a little bit. It takes a bit of time and so on. Whereas quite a lot of people depend for news on social media at the
Right.
moment.
Yeah.
And this then gets a little bit worrying. So I'd say on this score, it's not a kind of simple matter. It's difficult to know quite what one should do. And part of the problem is that we're basically making choices that we like, but that
Right.
the outcome may not be terribly good for us. I mean, it's a little bit like someone really liking very, very thick loaded pizza or something of this sort.
Right.
They may well like it, but it's not necessarily the case the outcome is going to be good for them. But what you do with that really can be pretty tricky. And what you do about it in a free and open society can be even trickier.